In April 1933, the United States government made it illegal for American citizens to own gold, not gold jewelry, not small amounts but monetary gold bars, coins, certificates. The penalty for refusal was 10 years in prison and a fine equivalent to $500,000 today. This wasn't a wartime emergency measure. This wasn't temporary, and America wasn't the first to do it. The question isn't why governments banned gold. The question is what breaks in a monetary system that makes banning gold necessary in the first place for most of human history. Money meant metal. Gold and silver weren't chosen arbitrarily. They were scarce, durable, divisible, and universally recognized. Empires rose and fell, but the metal retained value because it couldn't be created by decree. By the 19th century, most of the industrialized world operated under what we now call the classical gold standard. Currency was directly convertible to gold at a fixed rate. A British pound, a French franc, a US dollar, all were simply names for specific weights of gold. This system appeared stable because it was self-regulating. Governments couldn't print unlimited money. Trade imbalances corrected themselves through gold flows. Inflation remained low for decades. People trusted paper currency not because of the government that issued it, but because that paper was a claim check, a receipt for metal sitting in a vault. But this stability rested on a single, fragile assumption, that the issuer would always honor the exchange. The gold standard as a formal international system emerged gradually. Britain adopted it officially in 1821. Following the Napoleonic Wars, other nations followed throughout the 19th century, creating an interconnected web of currencies all anchored to the same metal. The logic was elegant. If 1 pound equaled a quarter ounce of gold, and $1 equaled a 20th of an ounce, then the exchange rate between pounds and dollars was fixed by mathematics, not politics. This reduced uncertainty in international trade and investment. Initially, the system worked. Global trade expanded. Capital flowed across borders. Economic growth in the industrialized world accelerated, but the elegance of the system contained a structural flaw that would only become visible under stress. As the gold standard matured, a subtle transformation occurred. Banks and governments discovered they could issue more paper claims than they held gold in reserve. This practice, known as fractional reserve banking, allowed the money supply to expand beyond the physical gold stock. The justification was statistical. On any given day, only a small percentage of depositors would request their gold. As long as the bank maintained enough reserves to meet normal withdrawal demands, the system functioned. This worked during periods of confidence. Credit expanded. Economies grew. The paper claims circulated as if they were gold itself. Entire generations grew up never converting their paper to metal. The receipt became indistinguishable from the asset it represented, and slowly, imperceptibly, the relationship inverted. Paper was no longer valuable because it represented gold. Gold was valuable because governments set it backed the paper. When war began in Europe in 1914, the gold standard effectively ended, though few recognized it at the time. Governments faced an immediate problem. Modern warfare was expensive, far more expensive than tax revenue could cover. Borrowing had limits. The only remaining option was to print money, but printing money violated the gold standard. If you doubled the paper currency while gold reserves remained constant, citizens would logically demand conversion, draining the vaults. The solution was suspension. One by one, European nations made their currencies inconvertible. The paper could no longer be exchanged for gold. This was presented as a temporary wartime measure. Britain suspended convertibility. France suspended convertibility. Germany suspended convertibility. The gold standard, the system that had underpinned global commerce for nearly a century, disappeared in a matter of weeks, and it happened not through invasion or revolution, but through a quiet legal declaration. When the war ended in 1918, the gold standard was nominally restored, but something fundamental had changed. Governments had learned that suspension was possible, and populations had learned to accept paper that promised nothing. Germany emerged from the First World War under the burden of unpayable reparations and a collapsed currency system. The government needed to meet domestic obligations and foreign debt simultaneously.